Hello, it's a pleasure to be here.
So have a seat. So thank you, David, that you came tonight for your time.
Pleasure.
And maybe I would like to start with a question which we are usually using all around the world in the startup grind. If you could briefly tell us, where are you from and how did you grow up, in which environment? If you could just give us some comprehensive overview about yourself.
Comprehensive overview. Okay. Okay, so my name is David. I was born in Prague in 1977. Which has been a long time ago for many of you, I believe. So I studied at the University of Economics. I joined the company Internet Info, which is the online publishing house. You may probably know Lupa.cz or Měšec.cz or some other online projects and online media. After that, I co-founded online media agent. It was not media agency, online digital agency, consulting agency Dobrý web, which still exists. After that, in 2005, I co-founded with three friends, a company called H1.cz, which just started as a digital agency focused on SEO, PPC, UX, UI, whatever digital, which we sold 2 times, by the way, in 2010 and then in 2013, I guess, 13, yes. I was a CEO for almost 10 years there. The company has grown up from like 4 guys to about 100 employees. And then I decided to leave and join Google, which is probably the only employer that I can imagine to work for. So I joined Google for 2.5 years. Which was a great experience, by the way. And then I said, okay, so I've tried to be an employee in such an amazing company, and I joined MITON as a CEO, which was about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So, and during your studies, as you mentioned, you got a couple of projects, before the H1, which you did time and build something. So why did you decide, to create and build something on your own, to be an entrepreneur at the time? Does anyone, around you had some influence to you, that you have anyone in your family who was doing a business at the time, or what was your motivation to start something on your own?
I don't know whether this is just too history for you, but in Dobrý web, which was about 2003 or something like that, we were just employees. So it was a part of the Internet Info publishing house, and then we quickly realized that the customers that they came and asked us for some job, consultancy or projects or whatever. They came for us. So we were the front faces of the company, like me, Marek Prokop, Vašek Štrupl, and other guys. And we said, okay, so if that's the most critical asset that the company is having, us, then it should be fair that we would have an equity, right? So we would be like shareholders. Mm-hmm. So we sat and we approached the CEO of the publishing house, Marek, and saying, okay, so why not to make the spin-off of this company, Dobrý web, and why not to give us some share so that we can have a long-term motivation? And he said no. And we said, okay, so the only option is that we leave because you said no. So we left, and we founded H1, which was an agency with the same purpose, like helping customers, like clients, corporate clients and companies, digital companies, to, to have better websites, better working websites, to have better performance marketing, and all this stuff. So that's why we said, okay, so if I should have a long-term motivation, I should be like fully focused on what I'm doing. I should properly have some equity there. Mm-hmm. So that's why it started like that way.
But was it only about equity, doing a business for you, or it was definitely, for the customers as well, for do something would make sense to you?
Yes, sure. I think that the H1 was at the time in a pretty unique situation because we have launched a lot of services like Google AdWords or SEO. Mm-hmm. It was like pretty unique or like new in this time. Mm-hmm. And that's why they were like pretty happy working with us. That's why the company has been so successful so far.
Do you remember who was your first client at the time? If there was something specific about it.
Yes, I do remember. I do remember. At that time, one of the most expensive keywords in Google AdWords in that time for Czech entrepreneurs. No, it was not sex. It was like Prague hotels, right? So it was like Prague hotels. So we were working for one of the hotel chains in the Republic, and he was owned by William Sivek, who happened to be the general manager of HC Sparta Praha, by the way, at that time. And he led us to have our own offices in the attic, like 1/10 of this space, in his hotel, by the way. So our first office was not in the garage, like startup, but was in the attic, like that one. In Hotel Selský dvůr in Hostivař. It was bartered, of course.
Okay, and how was the first year of running, the H1? What did you learn from it? What was the key takeaways, for example, from the very beginnings?
I think that from the general principles of running a startup, it was completely useless, all the experience. Because we had clients from the day one, we had revenue from the day one, and we were like in profit from the day one. Because it was just 4 of us, and we, from the very beginning, were invoicing more than we were paying ourselves, and the office was for free. So it was like profitable from the day one. And so it was not like a typical startup when you need to find your sales model, when you need to find your revenue streams, and when you need to find the break-even point somewhere. So it was not so much like bringing an experience for me, like for the later stage when I was working with startups. But it was very comfortable because you were growing with your clients. So if you want to be richer, you need to have more customers. Mm-hmm. And if you want to have more customers, you need to have more people, because the only thing that the agency is selling, it's time. Like it's like a lawyer, like lawyers, like attorneys, right? So so it's a very scalable business model. So me as a investor right now, I would never invest into an agency because it's not a scalable business model. Like you just selling your time and you have a very limited resource. Mm-hmm. And usually with agencies, what's happening is the more you grow, the less profitable per person you are. Mm-hmm. Because if you have 50 people, you need to have HR manager, an IT manager, and an assistant, and whatever. And that's why your profit per head is decreasing all over the place throughout the time. So that's why it's not very, profitable business model and scalable business model that needs. But it didn't need any investors because we were profitable from the day one.
Okay, but from the day one, you had a couple of employees, colleagues. But after the few years, you got I don't know if around 100 employees. So definitely there should be some point where you decide in growth phase that you need to work with this model.
Yeah, of course. I don't know whether you're interested in agency business, but if you are running your agency, at some point you need to decide whether you will stay as a boutique business, like really having a couple of real specialists with insanely high hourly rates, working just for best customers, best clients, or you want to scale, you want to have a big factory, like a lot of people working with a lot of clients. And we decided to be a big company because this is the way we wanted to run the company. And that's why we decided to have all those HR managers and assistants and marketing and whatever. So there was a decision point, and I think that both options are like viable, but we decided for the second one.
And so, what was your motivation? From the very beginning, that one time you will need to decide if you would like to exit from this company, that you would like to sold it. Was it one of the purposes when you start to build something like this, or it was because of the time and you decide, okay, right now is the time to change something? So,
okay, so from the very beginning, we were pretty convinced that one day we will sell it. And because, we were looking to other countries where the same was happening like a couple of years before. And big media agencies, like having really big clients and big budgets, but not having the specialists working with AdWords or SEO or with digital. They were like acquiring those type of agencies, smaller specialized agencies, because this was the way how to grow for them and how to maintain with the trend, right? And so we were not the first agency. It was Advertures at the time, but we were the biggest agency, in the first wave that was sold. And the reason why we sold it was that at some point we thought that we are reaching the ceiling for like an organic growth, and we said, okay, we need some kind of leverage, some kind of new impulse that could come from the buyer, from the other agency that would swallow us. And I think it was like a right assumption, but I found myself in an environment where I didn't want to work. So it was not so much comfortable for me to live in this ecosystem of big corporations and big agencies. And I find myself not really happy working there, so I decided to leave.
But you changed it for Google, and at that time it was conversion as well. So it was because of, as you mentioned, that
it's a different corporation, I would say. It's a different corporation. Well, Google is amazing because it's not, because it's Google, right? So you've probably seen all these things, nice things about Google, and nice offices, nice cafeterias, and all those perks and everything, and a lot of smart people like working with you. I've never met so many smart people just working around me, and there's an amazing boss, Tania Lemoň from the Czech Google. I was heavily involved with a lot of stuff happening like throughout the European Google, so it was great. And I also experienced the hiring process, right? So you've probably heard a lot of rumors about hiring at Google, and it's really how you've probably heard about it. So it's like a tough.
Do you have some interesting experience with hiring? One?
Are you interested in how Google is hiring people in the interview process? Google is very systematic about this, and all of those people that are coming for interviews are coming for 4 interviews, and all of those 4 interviews are focused on different area, and it's also interviewed by somebody else. So first is, which is the most difficult, I would say, it's general cognitive abilities, GCA, and those are the famous questions like how many tennis balls you can fit to Škoda Fabia, or how many kids' diapers are being sold in Czech Republic in 2017 or something like that. So how would you like shoot a missile to the Mars or something like that? And it's like, you know, interesting questions, sounding a bit weird, but their intention is to show how you think. And you have to think loud, which is the first principle, and you have to think systematically. So you have to build some hypotheses, then you have to build some ways how to check them, how to evaluate them, and then you have to, you know, put some answer that has some rationale behind. You don't need to be right. Probably even the interviewer doesn't know the right answer, but he knows how to understand how you think. And that's the most difficult part, because and what's good is that there are a lot of universities, like the good universities, where they teach it. And also this is something, if you are a junior consultant in McKinsey or in KBCB or in Boston Consulting Group, you probably know how to do this, because this is their daily bread. The second part is leadership, where you have to show specifically on your previous experiences and stories how you react in certain situations, whether you can like act like a leader, like being an active creator of what's happening around you, because Google really wants leaders, like on every single position. The third one is focused on role-related knowledge and experience, which is like related to the job description that Google is hiring for. So if you are a salesperson, you have to show that you can sell. If you are a programmer, you have to be able to program something. And the fourth part is Googliness, where they test you whether you are fit for their culture.
How they are testing it?
They are putting you questions, and usually, you know, I think that all of those parts have something in common, and is that you have to be 100% self-aware. You have to be able, because a lot of questions are targeted to the way that, tell me the situation where you had to persuade your colleagues about something, but they didn't agree, but you still won. And if the person that is being hired just staring at you and doesn't remember anything, it's wrong. So you have to be able to, you know, really show up the answer from your past that you experienced such a thing, and the Googliness is like being able to help, being friendly, not being too serious, be like echo friendly,
Okay.
and have some kind of ethics background and set up something.
Are you using, and if you learn something from these hiring processes, when you are right now at MITON talking to startups, to the founders, are there some set of skills, which you are applying, with communication with them, when you are thinking if you would like to cooperate with them and go to some business?
Not so much. Not so much. I use it when I'm interviewing people for the MITON team. So I was hiring recently consultants or analysts. So this is where I really used it. And they were quite surprised from many of my questions. So it's nice. I think it's really worth. And if you are interested in this topic, there is a book written by Laszlo Bock, who used to be an HR senior vice president of Google. I think it's How Google Works or something like that. It's called, and it's like really about like all these HR training, hiring, recruiting principles at Google, because he was the one who put the cornerstone of all of those things. He's now left, but it's a really nice book. Yeah, Laszlo Bock.
Which position you were applying for?
I was applying for. I was the sales director for the Czech and Slovakia for advertising products.
Okay, and from your time at Google, because I read that you were as well responsible for some performance of the Google, so you were responsible as well for some campaign, some PPC. So do you have what was your most successful campaign, or if you were building some campaigns at Google?
No, I wasn't. I was the one selling Google AdWords to. Managing the team that was selling Google AdWords to the biggest Czech advertisers. So because Google, not only but the most critical revenue source of Google is advertising, right? So Google AdWords, YouTube ads, the things that you probably hate. But for a lot of advertisers, this is a critical and crucial part of their marketing strategy and media budget. So our team in Prague and in Dublin was responsible for selling Google AdWords to a small list, about 50 customers, like the biggest advertisers in this country. So, and this was us helping them to understand that they should not invest to Facebook so much, or to Seznam, and more to invest in Google.
And then you decide to leave for some smaller company, the time, to MITON?
Yes. Yes, smaller, way smaller.
The time, I don't know how big is the team at MITON right now? How many guys
how many people do we have in MITON? So in MITON, in MITON, it's about 15 people. And in all of our companies that we have in portfolio, it should be 500 or something like that.
Okay.
Google is having 60,000 or something.
Yeah,
so
I know that it's
still way to go.
But this is probably not your mission, I guess. So to create something this, or yes?
Maybe yes.
Yeah.
Why not to say so? Yeah.
Okay. I thought that you want to be more like family business. I just that makes that sense. And
yeah, sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that has changed since you've been there, or is it still the same company that you applied for? I don't know how many years ago it was.
Google. It's radically changing. It's rapidly changing. What I say, it's still the only employer I would imagine to work for. So operating in this country, right? So maybe some others operating somewhere else, but in this country, I would not think of anybody else. It's becoming more and more corporation, the compliance restrictions and all those stuff are becoming pretty insane, and but still, from the inside, it's such a strong culture and such a strong energy that is being so you cannot work for Google and not becoming an advocate of Google. So it's so energizing you, because Google is so much open, internally open. So every single week, those two guys, Larry and Sergey, are just on stage. You can ask them anything, they will answer pretty much everything. So when Google was changing its logo, I don't know whether you remember, it was in 2015, I guess. 15? Yes, 15. it was written somehow differently, if you remember. So like 60,000 Googlers were having the new logo on their phones already, and nothing has leaked. You know, a lot of like new breaking news, breaking product innovations are being known to all Googlers that are so much looking forward to be able to tell the world, and they don't, because it's like a standard that they don't disclose anything. So it's such a strong energy inside that it sounds stupid, but it really energizes you, and it creates like an advocate. So I'm a strong believer in Google, although despite all the problems with European Commission and all those policy things, and I think the only threat to Google is our politicians, right, or bureaucrats somewhere. So it's really amazing, and I have a strong faith in those global companies, that I trust them much more than politicians and bureaucrats. So I think that there is such a great talent and also intentions, and I think they really want to have a better world in many aspects. They want to earn money, of course, but what they have created really improves people's lives, really brings knowledge and access to information. And I think that what's happening now is like really not good. And so I cross fingers for Google and Facebook and all of those companies, by the way.
Yeah, so thank for these opinions about it. But what I believe that many guys here are really interested about MITON. And so why did you actually decide, to go to
MITON, yes.
venture capital, startup studio? Because I understand that you got some, entrepreneurial experience, with some companies, with some doing business. But what was the motivation to go there?
Okay, you probably know of MITON and our portfolio companies, some of them at least. So I know the guys. I've known the guys for many years. So we were friends, and so we were meeting a lot of times, quite regularly. And also one of the co-founders of H1, Vašek Štrupl, happened to create a business with Bonami after he left H1, the Bonami with MITON, and he happened to become a partner a couple of years ago. And I've been with them in regular contact, and they were like trying to hire me and helping them with their companies. And I was saying, okay, at Google, it's like I would probably never leave Google, but then I decided to leave. And I said, okay, so I'm available, why not to talk? And we said, okay, so let's have a talk. And at the time, there were just 6 partners and a back office. And they wanted to attract more people, senior people, to help them manage the companies, build the companies, like leverage what's inside, and also like bring more opportunities to the ecosystem. Because the way we work is that all the MITON people, including me, are responsible for certain portfolio companies. So I have 3 right now. And so if you want to grow with the amount of companies, we need to have more people inside, because I would never be able to do the job the way I am doing with 15 companies. But it's about the modus operandi, because we are very active. So I'm like spending hours weekly with the companies I'm managing. Which companies?
Which 3 companies are you responsible for?
Yeah, me personally. So one of them is Driveto, which is the company, pretty new company for operational leasing. And there are 2 that we haven't disclosed yet. and 2 that I'm currently buying. So nothing disclosed yet. So the only one I can disclose is Driveto currently. So yeah, that's how we work, and that's why they need somebody like me that has experience with like building companies, and also all of our companies, their biggest accent is on digital marketing, because they are almost all of them are B2C with digital transactions, where the most important thing is to attract traffic, or to buy the traffic, or attract traffic, to sell something to the traffic, and then to earn some money. So that's like digital transactions, B2C. So that's why the background I've been having appeared to be useful for that purpose.
And are you more like passive or active in sense of helping startups, to be really active partner there, or you are more like a passive and looking how it's going? So what is your strategy and your approach?
MITON is not a typical VC. We are more like a startup studio, which means that the majority of companies that we have in our portfolio have been co-founded by us with some other guys, and we have been providing them with our support and management like from day one. Still, there are some companies that we have acquired or that we bought some equity in, but in almost all of our companies, we are very active, which means that somebody from MITON is a non-executive chairman or board member, but really being there, really understanding everything that is happening in the company, what needs to be accelerated, about the growth plans, everything, and is helping the CEO or helping the founder and the team with the skills that he has or with the experience. So, for example, in Driveto, I spent like maybe 1 or 2 days a week just in this company to helping them grow.
And what are some key...
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Ladies. It was the case where we founded it. So it was not an external investment. So we had Driveto like 100% R&D lab, where we want to tackle somehow the automotive business. We tried to do something in C2C, used cars, like something like Auto Team was doing here, like something to do. And then we decided, I think that the operational leasing and really helping retail customers to get to subscribe for the car at really convenient terms would be like the best way. And then we then we agreed with František, Fanda, Peterka, that many years ago cooperated with MITON on Proděti, then Proděti was sold to Rockaway, and he sold Rockaway, and then he came back to co-found the new Driveto with us. So it was not the case where we invested into running company. It was like really, it was born inside. Yes? Just for the camera, it was like, what was the time between the idea and the prototype? Of course, it varies. In case of Driveto, it was about a year. So there was like a first team that was trying to do something. We gave them some budget, monthly budget, to really make an R&D inside. And then when we thought they hit it, and we said, okay, let's make it big. And then it scaled up very rapidly, and now it has like almost 20 people. So it's becoming a big company.
You find the people, like the founding team,
It's hard. It's one of the most difficult and also most important tasks that we have. So really having the network of people that have had certain experience with founding companies and building rapidly growing companies that has sold it or that has left or that has a chance now to build something new, and they might approach us with their idea. I want to do something and I want you to help me, so we together make it happen. Or we have an idea in the drawer and he just approached us and say, I want to do something with you because we have known each other for years. And we said, okay, do you have something in your mind? And said, no, maybe I don't have. So, okay, so why not to do this? Because we don't have people for this. And we have like many ideas like that in a drawer. So if somebody came and said, let's do something together, and we think this is the right person, and he's also able to build a small team around him, because, or her, of course, because it's like a crucial, one of the most important CEO task is hiring people, right? So she needs to have a network of people that are able to jump in very quickly and start to do something.
Okay, and are you actually looking, or are you open to some application, for your venture capital? How many applications you are getting, for example, per month or per year, or what are some key factors what you are looking for if you are interested in?
Sure. So there's an email address called Pecka at MITON.cz that we use for that purpose. Or of course our standard email addresses or phone numbers. So we get about one application, I don't know whether it should be called application, but one email per week, let's say, which usually doesn't make any sense. But I think that it would probably be more, but we are pretty vocal about our way of doing things and our focus on retail and B2C businesses. So if there is somebody running enterprise B2B software, IT solution, whatever, right now, he probably would not be satisfied with us. So he probably knows that we are not the right place for such applications. So. And unfortunately for us, startuppers somehow think that IT B2B solutions are the best, which I don't think so, by the way. So I much more prefer like B2C businesses, like selling something to people, right? So that's why it's not so many as you might think. And we speak with them, we meet, if this makes sense, we meet them, and I often meet them, talk about the project, about the idea, about the current stage. We usually want to see something, if it's not just a slideware, right? So just an idea on a slideshow, because we should know. And of course, we, as everybody would say, we invest into people, right? So we need to understand that this founder is the best, and we bet on him and or her, that he's going to make it, and that he's brave enough, he's skillful enough, he's experienced enough, and that we bet on him. Sometimes we manage to change his perspective and say, why not to do it this way? Maybe it would be more successful, and a lot of times it's successful. But if this is the right person, then we are ready to invest. And of course, it varies when this is like a really young company or young project, or if it's like a really mature company with millions of euros in revenues. It's like totally different discussion, totally different due diligence process, totally different contractual process. Everything is different.
And are you looking as well active in looking for some new projects where you would like to invest?
We would love to be able, but currently not so much. So we definitely are open to all emails, phone calls, everything.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, of course. But we would love to see ourselves being more able to really proactively researching the market and searching for good opportunities. But I think our prioritization looks the way that we prioritize the current companies that we have in portfolio, because this is the value, the added value that we can bring or create is like vastly the biggest. Then we have a pipeline of companies where we are somehow involved and considering and talking and so on. And then from time to time we meet somebody like external out of this network. You wanted to ask something?
Regret any decision that some company or team came to you about?
Yes, if I regret some decision and refusal of the company that then happened to be successful afterwards. I joined MITON 2 years ago, so like since that time I have never met something like that. But of course there are, a lot of investors would say that if I knew how successful Kiwi would be, I would definitely invest into Kiwi. And I had a chance at that time, but nobody believed Oliver in the very beginning. But somebody did, of course, and then he's happy right now. Like mostly I see that the history confirms our judgments. That there is a guy, introducing some great idea, and I say, no, it would never work that way. And after a year, I said, I'm seeing that it has never worked. So it's mostly like that.
What's the craziest idea?
Craziest?
Like
I would assume that the craziest ideas even didn't reach my mailbox, because it's been somehow filtered by my colleagues already. Because luckily I'm not the one who's receiving all those emails to pecka@miton.cz. So I'm just receiving only the selection of this that at least is making some sense. There are a lot of projects that somehow targets the educational environment, like are trying to somehow make schools better, or which I'm a big fan of. But they usually are not successful because of the revenue, right? Because they think that the teachers probably would buy their products to be able to teach better, which most likely will never happen, because they don't have resources, and the state funding is not worked the way to incentivize teachers to have better products and better tools. So, and usually, these are the situations where I say, this is a good idea. I would definitely like to make this, happen, to be really working, because I have my own kids in school and they would appreciate such a thing of teaching or, educating. But usually it's too naive for the go-to-market or for the strategy, how to, earn some revenue inside.
So you are not looking for some, for example, some CSR project, maybe to support some of these incentives, just...
We currently have one such a project. It's still... So it's a really nice project that has a big story, big narrative. It really like improves people's lives. It will never be unicorn. It would never be like $1 billion company. But somehow we have a positive sentiment over this, and we are supporting this now. So it may happen from time to time.
As you mentioned, you are investing in people, and as we can see, for example, the investment in Slovomat, one of the projects of Tomáš Čupr, is Tomáš, one of the the founders who really have some
Yes, we invested in all of his projects. So we invested in Slovomat, in Dáme jídlo, and in Rohlik. So yes, we would probably, if he let us, we would probably invest in everything that he would create. Probably he would never create anything else than Rohlik because he says that this is his lifetime project. So we are there already. So we are happy to join him and help him to create wonderful companies. And I think Rohlik is a wonderful company.
That was actually what I wanted to ask about Rohlik. What do you think about current situation about Rohlik, about the traction of users or the customers? So what do you think is what do you see in the Rohlik? What is it for you? Is it like the company for exit, or is it the company which you would like to actually build something really special on the CEE market, with this food delivering and groceries? So, what is your strategy with Rohlik?
I think Rohlik has a great future ahead of it because it has literally started like a revolution here. And I'm not a customer, unfortunately, because I don't live in Prague. But if I lived here, I would definitely be a customer. And he and his team is doing a tremendous job to teach people that they can shop online for groceries, and he definitely has big plans. He really wants to make this as a billion company, billion crown company or $1 billion company. He definitely wants to go abroad someday, not now, but maybe someday, because in the grocery market in Czech Republic is huge. And he still has, or Rohlik still has a small percentage, so there is still a market share to fight for here. But yeah, we are happy with Rohlik, and we strongly believe that it should be a unicorn. And I don't know whether you have met Tomáš, probably some of you already did, but he's a, he's a great entrepreneur, and he's fully focused on what he's doing. Sometimes he's not so much easygoing with people because he's a tough manager and a tough entrepreneur and a tough guy sometimes. But I would bet my money on him because he would take this and he would win.
And as you mentioned that you are trying to be active, with cooperation with all of your projects. So, for example, what is added value right now for Rohlik? How you are actually helping to develop it, for example?
Yeah, it has changed over time, of course. It was much more visible in the beginning. And of course, we are not a majority stakeholder there, so we have a minority there. So it's not so much active right now as it is compared to other projects. But I think Rohlik currently needs like the trust of investors and of course investors' money, of course. And of course, like Rohlik is a big company, so it's not like me visiting them every day and talking to people what you need and how can I help you and let's look at those AdWords campaigns and so on. It's like much more structures. There are regular board meetings and so on. So it's slightly different. So comparable to how it worked in Slovomat, which was also was a big company, but compared to those smaller ones, it's different. And also, what we offer and what we do with all of our companies is that we try to create like a network of people and likely connecting people at certain positions throughout the portfolio companies. So there are like regular meetings of marketing specialists across the companies or HR specialists across the companies, or CEOs they meet very often just to talk and inspire and so on. So we were a couple of weeks ago with all of our CEOs at an offsite. So in Velké Karlovice, so a lot of Slivovice. And we created for them like a really nice program and really nice event. So this is what we also do, like to create like a family atmosphere and to create opportunities for them to meet. Because we don't want to reinvent the circle in every single company. And there are two ways how the investors can tackle this problem. So you can either create like a value-added team in your investors' background, so like an agency or like an outsourcing team that would help all those companies with campaigns and hiring and IT and legal and so on. Or you can just let the people meet. And we don't want to create this central team that would be outsourced for those type of tasks. I think that Rockaway is doing that really like creates this team, internal team. But we don't want to do this because we want all of our companies to be self-equipped with all the critical assets and expertise and topics so that everything is inside. So how not to reinvent the wheel in every single company again? Let the people talk, and they would learn from each other.
And what is your exit strategy, or the terms, or how you are looking, for the investment in this sense?
We don't have any exit strategies. We are not. We don't have any lending partners. We operate just with our own money. So we don't have any time frame where we have to close the fund, exit all the assets, and return money to the investors because we are the investors. So we can keep the companies as long as we can and as we want. So that's why we are not forced to close the businesses or to exit from any companies, which is, by the way, like a great advantage that we have compared to typical VCs. And so we want, our primary KPI is the value of the portfolio. If this grows, we are happy. And if we think that we know how to help the company to grow, and if it happens that the company has become too big, there is a professional management, we may find ourselves like in the situation where we are not so much in a detail with the company, we don't know how to help them, we are just an investor, we just keep the stake. There might be a time where we can say, okay, let's sell it. It happened with Slevomat in the time. It can happen with some other venture that we have or with some other company that we have, but we don't have any formalized strategy. We need to grow. We need to build a successful, profitable company that would either give us dividends in the future, or that would be sold to some strategic investor in the future.
How much is the percentage, for the equity which you are looking if you are stepping into some startup, into some company? So how we are setting this?
In the standard modus operandi that we are working on, like where we are co-founding with some other co-founder, it may be the case of Driveto or Biano or some others. We usually want to have a majority. It's like 60-40 or something like that. If this already is running business, we can have less, but let's say like a bigger minority, let's say 30%. But we are also able to invest like in 5%. But there must be a strong reason for that. So we usually have like a bigger stakes.
Okay, and what was
it was a question?
Ask what is the right fit for what kind of company?
Yeah, what is the typical company that we want to have in our portfolio, because it seems that there are some just copycats of successful retail companies from abroad. Well, we are stronger in digital marketing than in sales, right? So that's why we want to have B2C companies, because this is where we feel we can help better. We can have better experience and also better judgment if this is good or not. So we tend to avoid B2B IT companies like typical startups, Epire, or those beautiful startups that you would probably find in those co-working spaces and so on, like really tackling one technology, that neuron soundware or something like that. Because this is like a corporate B2B. So they need to create a product and then to sell it to a couple of big companies with a long sales cycle, with a lot of difficulties in a selling process. This is where we don't feel so strong, so we feel much stronger in digital marketing and in those like really quick go-to-market strategies, like starting campaigns, optimized campaigns, like really acquiring traffic and converting the traffic to transactions. You said that we have only e-commerce. Well, not so much. Rohlik is e-commerce, Bonami is e-commerce, but GLAMI or Biano is not so much e-commerce. It's not selling everything. It's like an arbitrage, so it's like an aggregator or a marketplace. But there must be some kind of B2C strategy where we are converting traffic to something that is close to digital transaction. And this is where we feel strong. So we like these type of projects. And of course, when it comes to retail or B2C, there are markets much bigger than us, much more developed than us, where there are a lot of great ideas that has already been tested on a bigger scale, where those big players, they don't have so much focus to pivot it in a small market. So why not to do this in this small market? And maybe tailor it better to this environment. So this is what we do. But for example, for Driveto, for example, there is not so much examples in the road so much. So this is really like a typical Czech concept, let's say. And they want to even change it, so it's going to be a bit different than it's working right now.
What was your biggest success at MITON?
Like my personal, or MITON success?
Up to you.
Up to me, okay. So I think that, last year we sold Slevomat. You probably have heard of this. It was really like the biggest exit, one of the biggest exits in digital, let's say, in Czech at all. I think there was just couple of bigger exits here. So it was really successful, and not only from the financial perspective, but also we managed to find a great buyer for Slevomat, like a strategic consolidator from the UK, where like a great husband, like a great husband for the bride. So I was very happy about that. And also people in Slevomat, they were happy about this transaction because they were looking forward to this new chapter and new opportunities that Secret Escapes as a global company is providing. And my personal success, I'm very happy about Driveto. This is my kid in the kindergarten. So I'm very happy about this. It's a really young company now, having 20, and we managed to sell like more than 100 cars a month. Like it's like a big dealership, right? So just online. So it's a great, and it's like creating a new experience in selecting and buying cars. And I'm a strong believer in subscription models. And I'm a strong believer in subscribing for cars with a much more flexible way than you probably know from operational leasing. So there is a big future there, and I'm a strong believer.
And what was your biggest challenge? Is it the same as a success?
No. I was not so much involved in the exit process of Slevomat. It was some other's job, so luckily I wasn't so much involved. Well, one of the challenges is also one of the biggest beauties on MITON is that there is no grand design. There is no master plan. There is no written strategy. There is nothing. They're just people that are smart, that are making quick and smart decisions, and everything is possible. So there are no like policies, guidelines, nothing. So everything is totally like flexible. And sometimes if you come from an environment when there is a master plan, when you can refer to some overall long-term strategy, when you can refer to some kind of best practice, how we do things and how we not do things, there's nothing like that in MITON. So you might find yourself somewhere hidden or somewhere lost, where you have to act like an owner or act like an responsible person, and there is nothing you can refer to. You have to think of this, you have to decide, and you have the full competency to do this. So that's also the big challenge, because for a lot of people, and I warn those people that we have hired for MITON in the last year, that it's a total punk here, and there would be days when they would feel completely lost and didn't even know whom to ask. But there is always an answer somewhere, so they have to look for that. So we have to have smart people that are not so much scared. Over there, lady.
Yeah, sure.
What type of manager I am? I'm not so much a manager now in my role. I was a CEO of a company of 100 people, so it was like a total full-time management job. Now I'm more flexible into like managing people or like enabling people to do something, and also I have my own agenda, so it's like a mixture of things right now. So it's like there is a better balance now. But I was many years like a typical manager, and I am a very poor firefighter, and I'm much more like a cathedral builder. So if you probably know the story that a man approaches 3 guys building a wall and asking them what you're doing, and the first says, I'm just putting brick on a brick, right? Is what I'm doing, brick on a brick. And it should be like really narrow and really to the point. And I said, okay, he asked the second one, what are you doing? And he says he was doing pretty much the same. But he answers, I'm building a wall, and it should be like 3 meters tall and should be like 10 meters long and so on, okay? And the third answer, I'm building a cathedral. And this is what I am. I feel myself sometimes lost in details. I'm not so much, into speaking of nonsense. I'm much more about creating new visions and like leveraging, like enabling people to do something with me. So this is I have made a lot of tests of a personality over the years. So the most recent one was that I'm a creator. So it's like team dynamics test. So I'm the creator. So this is how I work, and I really like to work with people that are smart, that they know what to do, and this is just about like really smart discussions, creating new, not to mothering people. I hate mothering people. So that's why the work at Google was amazing, because there are like top talents everywhere, like top people everywhere. And sometimes, and I remember from my old H1 days where SEO department was complaining that they have smaller tables than the PPC department, and that the chairs are much nicer over there than here, and that's just something that totally destroys me. So I'm not the person that is able to deal with such things.
So following that question, currently how does it look your daily activities? What are your main activities?
Okay. I have three main tasks. First is I take care of my companies in my portfolio. So I'm in regular contact with the CEOs. They are in the same house. Some of them that in the building that we live, that we have offices. So we have regular meetings. We speak about strategic things, budgets, decisions, a lot of things, and so on. Then the second chapter of my job description is I manage the central team, like the headquarters of MITON. So there are some people like analysts and a CFO and HR manager and so on. So I meet with them and we create like plan what needs to be done. We need to organize something for our companies, so they are responsible. So I'm somehow involved in those decisions. And I also like facilitate internal discussions. So there are regular MITON meetings where we evaluate our companies or something like that. So I create the agenda. I somehow have to put calendar events to all those guys' calendars because they really tend to forget. So they are pretty poor in calendar usage. So I have to be pretty strict. They should come and be here on time and make decision. And the third chapter of my agenda is that I'm responsible for the deal flow. So what type of companies we have in our pipeline, who is responsible for that, at what stage it is, whether this needs to be discussed or we are creating like term sheet or something like that. So for certain companies, I'm responsible for that. So every day is different. Every day is different. For example, on Monday, it's all about Driveto. on Friday, I'm staying at home and just dealing with emails. So these are 2 days that are similar to each other. Ladies first, please.
You told that you were 2 children. So
Yeah.
how difficult is it just to have a happy family and happy company?
Yes. I have never been a person that is staying at work for long. So all my working life, except for some exceptions, I'm leaving the office at like 5:30 or 5. So I'm never stayed like until 8. Of course, that I open the emails like in the evening or afternoon or something like that. And one of the reasons why is that I don't live in Prague, and I have quite a complex, comprehensive, as you said, family life, because I live on a farm and I run a farm. And we breed horses and have a lot of things to do also at home. So for example, last 7 days I spent in tractor making a hay harvest, seno. So that's why you are pretty lucky that it started to be nice weather on Friday, because it started on Saturday, that probably the day I would not be here and I would have to finish my hay harvest. So that's why I have to really split the energy and the focus to really like 2 comprehensive pieces of my life, which is like the work and life. I'm a strong believer in work-life balance. I'm a strong believer in the way that you have to have the more complex, difficult, and robust you have your work life. You have to build like an opposite strong part, because I somehow feel sorry for people that spend like 12 hours at work, and everything that is the the balance is like, I sometimes watch movie or I go to some restaurant, which is pretty sad. So I'm a strong believer that you should have like these opposites and a really like complex hobbies or family life. So that's why I have to be there. So my wife would probably kill me if I wasn't there. So and there would be nobody else doing the hay harvest. So I have to combine this.
Are you thinking about, or maybe did you have a chance to collaborate on some project in agriculture, or because you have farms? So I don't know if this is something of area of interest for you.
Yeah, we now help Stuk. I don't know whether you know that. It's like a very nice project, creating like a marketplace for local farmers and local suppliers, and connecting them with local communities. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we are helping now, and it's called Stuk.cz, and it's a really great project, which is very close to my heart.
And what would you advise to, the brave entrepreneurs or startups, who are looking for funding? What would you advise to them from the position, of the venture capital?
I would say that every idea and every plan or every business model that worth it would find easily money. Money is not the problem. There are so much free money on this market, and so many smart people having them, of course, as well. So if you meet 5 of them, and your great idea would not be accepted by them, probably this is not the idea that's worth it, because the money is not the problem. So every good idea would find the money. So if they tell you that this is not worth it, then you would probably have to look for another idea or another plan. And and of course there are a lot of businesses that even don't need investors. I had an agency, we had a revenue of, like 10 million euro a year, and we didn't have an investor. So there are a lot of businesses that even don't need them. And what to say, I even don't know whether you are entrepreneurs or somebody from VCs, I don't know. But if you are running your business, then it needs money. And it's a good idea, and it's a good plan, and you are a good person, you are a good founder, then you would easily find money. Money is everywhere.
Okay, so 2 last questions. Yeah.
I have another question related to MITON. So you mentioned that you have some HR people in your team. So these people is helping the portfolio startup to find the team members or to be employees of the other companies? Or how are you operating this?
The HR. Was it HR? Yeah. We have a head of HR in MITON, and this lady first helps CEOs to be able to hire better, recruit better, and so on. So like a mentorship and like a systematic help or systematic consultancy. She also is responsible for this like family program that how to build and interconnect all those people together in the family, in the MITON family, and is also like responsible for having a good pipeline, solid pipeline for the C-levels or for like the top managers or top positions where we are more active in finding it for our companies. So for our regular positions, not, this should be solved by companies. But for the C-levels, we are more active, and she's the one that is taking care of this.
So,
I would like to come back to like social impact projects. So do you think that in this specific segment there is some space, for example, to use some state money to fund those projects from the social impact area?
Of course, that state money are the best money for such a purpose. In Czech Republic, there are not so much state money given to the. We have now are in regular contact with Polish VCs, and now there are so many Polish programs where they are just giving government money or public money to VCs just to, which are not non-refundable. So the state even doesn't want to take this back. So, and there is like a 1 to 5 leverage. So imagine how insane this is. Like, there are so many VCs now operating with so much money from the government. And but there are some limitations on what companies are eligible for getting such money. But here, I would say that I think that the social responsible projects, I think that the best investors or donors are like rich people that are having their own money and they want to support something that makes sense for them, which might somehow correspond to their view of life or preferences or sentiment or whatever. So if you have an idea of something socially responsible related to animals, you would probably go to somebody different than with other topic. So that's how it works, usually.
But unfortunately, during the latest statistics, the charity in the Czech Republic is relatively down.
Yes.
okay, so thank you very much, David. And
there were so many questions from that
from that part of audience,
and nothing from this. I think that the last super smart question must come from this side, right?
Okay, so yeah, so guys, what's your question? What would you like to ask?
You can sit there.
Okay. Okay, it was a joke.
So definitely, I believe that we'll have some few minutes if you will stay here with us. Yeah, and eat some pizza. So thank you very much, David, for your time, and all of you guys enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you very much for your smart questions.